Hello, 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 guys. Y'all see, I'm doing this again. I'm doing this again. Getting good at it now. Look. Hello, Instagram. Hello, YouTube. Hi. I am trying to learn this multitask thing, honey, without nothing falling apart. Happy Self Care Saturday. Happy Self Care Saturday. Listen. Coach T here with y'all. I wanted to drop by on this self-care Saturday, last weekend before the Christmas holiday. Come on, Jesus. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? How y'all taking care of yourselves? Are y'all out in these people's streets, moving around, doing some things? Listen, not going to hold you long at all. I hope I spelled that word right. Not gonna hold you long at all. I wanted to just stop in real fast and just encourage you, as you are continuing to navigate through this journey. And so I'm going to just say a quick prayer. Jesus, be a fence. All right. Hello, hello, and welcome. For some of you who may not know me, my name is Coach T. My name is Coach T, and I am a mental health wife coach and marriage consultant. I coach wives who are going through a marital separation or a marital hardship. I help wives to prioritize and take care of themselves while they are trusting God in their marriages. So hello and welcome and welcome and welcome. Listen, y'all see this? Y'all see that YouTube? You see that Instagram? Huh? Look at the words back there, honey. You see that? You see that? At work, they have been calling me the love and relationship coach lately. I'm like, I guess. Um, I guess. But I'm gonna start charging y'all in a few minutes, right? And this young lady, she, I've shared with them about my business. A lot of them know, what kind of business I have and what I got going on. And she wanted to make me a cup. And baby, you see that? You see that? Love yourself, honey. Love yourself. I put me some mango juice in here. And in the words, it says, you can't pour from an empty place. Prioritize yourself. And it has 1 Corinthians 6:19-20. His wife. Y'all see that? And so I thought that was nice. I thought that was real, real nice. So I'm actually getting some of these made. Y'all let me know if y'all interested and want one. Um, but they've been doing that for me at work, pouring into me that way, allowing me to be Coach T in the workplace. And so I think her name is, I thought the words was on here. Oh, it is. Finery Prince is her business. If y'all on Instagram, I think her name is Finery Prince. That's her. Listen, I wanted to come on real fast this day and just give wives some encouragement as y'all are preparing for the Christmas holiday. And as we are coming to the end of this year, I wanted to just drop in real fast and share some things with you. When I was a young girl preparing for spelling tests, one of the things that my daddy used to do with me was go over like the spelling words with me, and he would have me write them over and over again, say them out loud, read them over and over again, type of thing or whatever. And so over the years, teachers and educators used to say like that's not really a good way of studying, that's not really a good method of learning type of thing. But it worked for me. It worked for my kids, and I actually did that with my kids when they were in school. One of the things I am intentional about, I'm just intentional about as a coach, is being repetitive, right? One of the things I am intentional about is just being repetitive. I think that is so very important while you are on this journey, and as you will continue to trust God. I always share it wise. I always share it wise that this is a faith journey. This is a faith journey. You cannot do this journey without faith, right? And so the Bible says in Romans 10 and 17, so faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So faith comes by hearing, and by hearing the word of God. Two parts of that Bible verse I wanted to point out. Two parts. One, you have to be in place. You have to be in place so yes, you can hear, right? You have to be in place so that you can hear. And two, you have to make sure you are hearing God, right? You have to be in place so that you can hear. And then two, you have to make sure that you are hearing God. And so today, I want to come on to encourage you and to remind you to stay the course, right? Stay the course and take care of yourself while you're doing it, wife. Stay the course and take care of yourself while you are doing it. Y'all know I have to share some transparency with you as a coach, as a woman of God, as a wife. My years of separation and hardship in my marriage was hard. I think I've shared with you on several occasions that I don't think I have ever been through something so hard in life. Like, period. So my years of hardship, my years of separation in my marriage, it was hard. Literally impossible, right? Literally impossible. But I gave God my yes. I gave God my yes. And because I gave God my yes, he gave me faith to stay in my unproductive, unhealthy, and non-beneficial marriage. Because I was not benefiting from my marriage. I wasn't benefiting from staying in my marriage, right? It was nothing that attracted me to stay in the marriage when I was going through those things. I only had, and I share this with you all the time, I only had a word and instruction from God, right? When my husband left, and I'll tell y'all all the time, I was separated for 3 times where my husband actually left the home. When my husband left, God told me he would be back, right? God told me to that my husband would be back. That was the word that God had gave to me. And so I held on to that. I held on that with dear life, right? When he came back and things got rocky again, God told me at that time he'll be back. Like he'll be back, right? In between times, right? In between the affairs, the adultery that was taking place, the addiction, the abandonment, the mental and emotional abuse, God made his self present to me, right? He let me know that he was with me in this process. He let me know that he was with me, and that he was not wavering in his promises. Right? He was not wavering in his promises. When things looked ugly, impossible, doomed, dead, basically God was like, so which report will you believe? Are you gonna believe your situation? Are you gonna believe your circumstances? Or are you gonna believe me? And I always tell wives, there are only 2 options on this journey. there are only 2 options, right? And so everything about my marriage looked dead. Everything about my marriage looked, doomed. Nothing about it looked like, this is coming back together. This is going to work itself out. None of it. It was an impossible situation. But God resurrected faith in me to persevere. And this is one of the things I always share with wives, and why I'm always telling wives, you have to have faith to do this journey. You have to have faith to trust God. You have to have faith to believe God. You have to have faith to go forward with this journey. Being persistent being persistent in faith is what has kept me in my marriage all these years. Almost 20 years later, that has been the key that has kept me in my marriage. And even when it looks like the enemy had the upper hand, okay, when it looked like he had the upper hand, God's faithfulness, his faithfulness always prevailed. God's faithfulness always triumphed over those things. God's faithfulness always came through, right? God is faithful, wise. God is faithful. So yes, today I will be talking to you and sharing with you about faith, because that is the only thing that is going to keep you on this journey and allow you to continue to go forward on this journey. You got to have faith, right? You got to have faith. I can literally talk about faithfulness and God faithfulness all day long. Like I talk about alcohol addiction. Like I can talk about that all day long. If you want to give me a topic to talk about, it would be faith, right? It would be faith. And I have seen the power. I have seen the authority. I have seen the hands of God in my marriage. I have seen the proof that faith works, right? Faith works. I was just doing a session with one of my clients before I did this live, and one of the things that she said, and I told her I'm gonna steal it. I said, you're gonna come on my videos and you're gonna hear me say it, but I'm stealing this from you. And she said, faith has a payday. Come on, Jesus. Faith has a payday. And indeed it does, right? When I tell wives to stay the course and to keep showing up, I mean just that. When I say keep showing up, stay the course, I mean just that. Because it's in that you will begin to see what the Bible verse talks about in Psalms 27:13-14, right? You will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, right? But you have to keep showing up. God's process is needed for the transformation to take place within you. A lot of times, wives are trying to figure out, how am I being transformed? How am I being renewed? How am I being changed? How am I? By going through the process, right? By going through God's process. And even though it may not necessarily be visible to you right away, even though you may not necessarily be able to see it right away, God is on a mission to transform you. And the purpose and goal of his transformation that he wants to do in you is for you to look more like his son, Jesus Christ. And this is why I always tell wives, you are his wife, right? You are his wife. My approach has always been that wives trust God through this process, right? It has always been. I always tell wives, if you are a wife or you are in a place where you like, your mind is already made up, you already know that you're going to go through with divorce, you already know that, then don't sign up for a consultation. Don't watch Coach T videos. Don't come on Coach T email list, because I am not that coach. I'm not that coach. Once wives get clarity on whether or not God has given them a directive or an instruction or a promise to stay in a marriage, or even maybe an impression. Okay, an impression is like a knowing. It's like, in your spirit, this is what you're supposed to be doing. A rhema word, a specific scripture, a Bible verse. Once God has given you that, and you have complete clarity that I know I'm supposed to be doing this. Once she knows what God is asking of her and she agrees to it, right? Because it's one thing to know, right? But it's another thing to know and actually do. A lot of times wives know. I just had a wife, I think about a week ago, and she's no longer married to her husband, but she started working with me, and she knew, like she was very, very clear that God told her to stay in her marriage. God told her to move forward with with staying in her marriage, and she still made a decision not to be in her marriage, right? And so once you know and you actually accept and do, once you do those things, then you are ready for the next steps, right? Then you are ready for what God is asking of you to do next. So you probably say, well, Coach T, well, what's the next steps? Like, what's the next steps after we know that, we're supposed to be doing this? The next steps is accepting your reality, accepting the truth, right? Accepting your truth, and then accepting where things are in your marriage. This is my reality. This is my truth. And this is where things are in our marriage. Once you have overcome those areas, once you have, climbed over that wall, now you're ready to start doing your work. There a lot of times is a lot of resistance with wives, and it makes it very, very complicated and difficult to work with, because these wives are trying to fight something that God is not going to box with you. Your hands are too small and too short to even be boxing with God. God is going to say what he's going to say. He's going to give the instruction. He's going to tell you what it is, and that's it. Right? That's it. And a lot of times, wives are resistant of what God is asking us, saying, or sharing, right? And so once you get to a place of acceptance, and this is one of the things I always emphasize and just point out to wives why this is so important. Once you get to a place of acceptance, then that's when the work began, right? That's when the work began. I want to share with you three Bible verses that really, really helped me to be persistent and to persist in faith while I was on my journey, right? These three Bible verses are so helpful. Hey, Miss Lady, I don't want to push nothing because I don't want the thing to fall down. So I'm just going to say, hey. All right. All right, so the first Bible verse, and I share this in my small group. I share this with my wife all the time. But that Bible verse is Luke 1:37, right? We know that there is nothing impossible with God, right? There's absolutely nothing impossible with God. That was one of my Bible verses that really, really helped me to persist in faith on my journey. The second one, Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 to 8, which basically says, keep asking, keep knocking, keep seeking, keep going to God, right? Just keep going to him and asking and seeking. Do not get tired in this place, right? And so, and this is, of course, this is me giving y'all the short version, Coach T's version, me paraphrasing it, right? But then the third one, God brought this back to me recently, and he also used one of my prayer and intercessors and brought this back to me as well. I said, I have forgot about that Bible verse. In my church years ago, not the church I'm in now, but my church prior to that, I was in a in a ministry class or whatever. And the young man, he would always be preaching and teaching or whatever. And he was just so good. And he just knew the scriptures, and he knew Bible verses and all that kind of stuff. And so I remember going to him after the class. And I was like, hey, I had this, that going on. First of all, let me just say, everybody in that church knew my business, okay? Because I was that one who didn't mind getting up and going in front of the church and telling people to pray for me, because I'm married to this man and I don't know what's going on and I don't know what God has asked me to do. So they knew me by that. They knew Coach T by that. Okay, I wasn't Coach T then. Then I was just that girl who always getting up talking about her marriage. I was crazy, okay? Then I was that girl who was just talking about her marriage, but I would always go to the church and ask for prayer and share with the people. I wanted somebody to hear my story. I want somebody to hear me. And so he knew me, the man knew me. And so I went to him after church one day, and I was like, man, when do you stop praying? when do you stop praying? And when does God answer your prayers? What else do I have to do? Because I feel like back then I was doing everything. I've done everything. And he bought this Bible verse to me, and I will always remember him for this. I see him in the store sometimes to this day with his wife, and every time I see him, I'm always reminded that man pointed this Bible verse out to me, because he was a Bible teacher. He knew the Bible. And so that verse comes from out of Luke chapter 18, verses 1 to 7. And I'm going to actually read y'all this one. I'm going to read y'all this one, okay? And it says, I think this is the New King James Version. So it says, then he spoke a parable to them, that men always ought to pray and not lose heart, saying, there was in a certain city a judge who did not fear God nor regard man. Now there was a widow in that city, and she came to him saying, get justice for me from my adversaries. And he would not for a while. But afterwards he said within himself, though I do not fear God nor regard man, yet because this widow troubles me, I will avenge her. Least by her continue coming, she wearies me. Then the Lord said, hear what the unjust said. Verse 7. And shall God not avenge his own elect who cry out day and night to him, though he bears long with them? I want to highlight verses 7, because that's the part that stood out to me, right? And shall God not avenge his own elect who cry out day and night to him, though he bears long with him? So when I get words like that and stuff like that, and when things hit my spirit sometimes like that, I start to research. I start to look up stuff. I start to search, right? And so the word elect is the word that stood out. And I questioned God, like, what is elect? Like, what is elect? And elect is God's chosen. God chosen, right? Or God's people, his chosen people. One of the things I always share with wives is, wife, you have been chosen for this assignment. And this is why that stood out to me like it did. Because I'm always telling wives that you have been chosen for this. This is not something that oh, I want to do this. No, God handpicked you. God chose you for this type of assignment, right? This assignment is not for every wife. And I've shared with y'all, wives, and a lot of people fight with me on this, and I tell them all the time, I'm sorry, but this is not for every wife, because every wife is not built for this. Every wife cannot do this. Every wife is not anointed for this. God is not calling every wife to do this. God did not call every young girl like Mary to birth Jesus Christ. He did not. He only called Mary, right? So you were handpicked for this position. And even after being chosen, you still had to accept by saying yes, right? Even after being chosen, you still had to accept. When the angel came to Mary and said, hey, you have been, favored by the Lord. You have been, picking. You're gonna be, admired by many, many women. You are blessed. You are blessed. And she was like, well, how can this be? And I ain't never been with no man. Like, how can this be? Like, she had some resistance in that. But once it was all said and done and over, she finally accepted. So wife, just being chosen is not enough. You have to also say yes, right? Just being chosen is not enough. You have to also say yes. The elect, right? Y'all, you have a cross to carry. you have a cross to carry. Your yes is the exchange for the cross. A lot of times, wives, like I said, I've worked with wives. I've coached wives who knew that God told them to do a specific thing, and they was like, okay, but what about him? But what about this? But what about that? But what about that? And they still made a decision to not go forward with that. The journey don't necessarily start and begin until you actually, yes, you are chosen first, but you have to also say yes. Okay. Once you say yes, that's where that exchange take place, and now you are given that cross. Okay, you are giving your cross, right? Wife, your yes is the exchange of the cross. You are literally carrying your marital cross when you accept this assignment. But you have to also understand, while carrying it, God will balance it out with self-care. And this is what wives do not understand. And this is why wives struggle so much with not taking care of themselves. You have to balance your cross out with self-care. You have to balance your cross out with the strategy that God gives you, the regimen that God gives you. It's not just, I have chosen you for this assignment to do this, and that's it. No, you have to get the rest of the instructions. You have to get the strategy. You have to know what your regimen is, because every wife even though you have been chosen to do this, every wife has a specific regimen. They have a specific strategy that God has given you to carry out this assignment. So God balanced out you carrying your marital cross with self-care. He balances that out. That marital cross by itself is hard to carry. And that's why grace comes into play. Okay? To persist in faith will require something from you. To persist in faith will require something from you. It will require a sacrifice. It will require an offering. And it will require your will. A lot of times people ask me like, Coach T, how do you come up with all these like, little 1, 2, 3s or, little things? Excuse me, these little things that you put together to, because it's like, there's a strategy. There's a lot of pieces that goes with this assignment. And a lot of times, if you are not a person who can coach yourself on this journey, or you're not a person who understands, or you're not a person who you're not in alignment with what or have full understanding of what this means, you miss simple steps like this. You don't know that these things are required for you to do this journey, right? There's a requirement that comes with this assignment. A sacrifice, an offering, and your will. Okay? A daily death will take place in your spirit, and you must die to your flesh on a regular. So many wives are not successful in this area because they don't know how to die to their flesh. Guilty. I have been guilty in this, right? So many wives struggle with this assignment because they don't know how to die to their flesh. And one of the things you will have to do is die to your flesh. You will be poured out like an offering, right? In the context of Corinthians, the phrase pour out offering refers to the idea of completely dedicating oneself to God. Too many wives are not in a position or place or have come to acceptance where they have dedicated their life to God. And I get it, because you're saying, I still want to do this, or I still want to do that, or I still want to be in this area. And a lot of times people can take that and feel like they just not supposed to do anything. I ain't supposed to have no fun, or I ain't supposed to be doing this, or I got to be a certain kind of way. And it's like, this is why it's so important for you to have that relationship with God, right? This is why it's so important for you to make sure that you are in alignment with God and with the plans that He has for your life, for your life, right? So you will be poured out like a offering. And there are certain things when you are poured out like an offering, there's certain things you just can and cannot do, right? And then your soul will be challenged on every level there is. If y'all have sons, brothers or uncles or, cousins or whatever that have video games, listen, y'all know when they play these video games, it's all about getting to the next level, okay? It's all about getting to the next level. And on this journey, it is the same. There are levels to this, right? There are levels to this. And so because of that, you have to make sure that you are lying down your will and giving your will over to the Lord, because you won't get to the next level until you do just that. Okay? You won't get to that next place. So you will be challenged on every level there is. You will have to daily, regularly, almost every minute, nurture your mind. I tell wives all the time, you will have to learn how to steward your thoughts. You will have to learn how to steward your mind. You will have to learn how to pull down those strongholds and get rid of those vain imaginations. You will have to do those types of things, right? Emotions, you will have to ask God to steward your emotions, right? To get your emotions to come in alignment, to subject your emotions to come under Him, right? You will have to learn how to steward your emotions, and you will have to learn how to give God your will on a regular basis. This journey does not work without you doing those things, wife. It does not work. Your mind, your will, your emotions, these things are part of your will. Your mind, your emotions. I'm sorry, it's part of your soul. Your mind, your will, and emotions. These things will have to be given to God on a regular basis in order for you to maintain this journey in the most healthiest way. All right. These things will have to be given over to him. I'm trying to lose my spot because I ain't used to reading on this doggone Mac. So I hear wife say all the time, I want to do the will of God. I want to be in God's will. I want to make sure that I'm doing God's will. I want to make sure that I'm staying in God's will. And I'm like, but do you? But do you? Like, do you really want to do his will? Like, do you really know what that entails? Right? Doing the will of God is not the easiest way. Okay? Doing the will of God is not the easiest way, but it is the kingdom's way. And that's why so many are failing at this right now. They do not want to do things God's way. Certain things God will tell you. I'm telling you, God is going to tell you to do some things that you're going to be like, I can't do that, Jesus. God mess around and tell you to give your a certain amount of money to somebody just to give to them. God mess around and tell you to be nice to a person who has just completely disrespected you or being mean to you. God is telling you to offer this person. I remember, oh God, I don't know why that one came to me just then, but that one came to me. It was this person I was working with, and I mean, she had the ugliest attitude, and me and her was okay at one point, right? And I would take her like home because she was having car issues or whatever. And I would take her home. I would pick her up from work. Like, I would go out my way to sacrifice to go in, to go and get her or whatever. And I mean, you knew that like she and some of the other girls was talking about you. Like, I knew like my name was a conversation in that group. And so naturally, when you have something like that going on, it's like, you want to stay away from that. I don't want to be part of that. And I remember hearing the Lord tell me, I want you to take her home. I said, you want me to do what? You want me to do what, Jesus? He said, I want you to take her home. Now, mind you, I like breakfast. When the days I'm not fasting, I like to eat breakfast. And so I would like go like to McDonald's or whatever in the morning time before I would go pick her up and, get me something to eat. And the Lord would always tell me, like, give her something too. I'm like, I ain't got enough money for her. I don't got enough money for her, Jesus. Like, you want me to pick her up and you want me to buy her breakfast? Like, come on, Lord, this ain't right. So I just remember that time when I knew that day specifically that, like, she's going to have to find her another ride home. I ain't taking her home. I know they've been talking about me. And God was like, no, I want you to take her home, right? And so I said it to say, sometimes God will ask you to do some hard stuff. He's going to ask you to do some things that you just do not want to do. And a lot of times wives are saying they want to be part of God's will, they want to be in God's will, but they are not willing to be obedient with the simple things that God is asking them to do, right? And like I said, I can remember those times being before things got ugly in my marriage. Like those was like, that was pre, separation. That was pre, me and my husband, having like major issues. Like this was like in the beginning when God was just simply saying, Tanika, are you ready for me to come in? Tanika, are you ready for me to, to help you on this journey? Now you're like, God, I got this. So I remember like small little simple things like that he was training me in way before the big stuff came. Like when he would tell me, go to your husband's, apartment and, sit in the parking lot and pray for him. Or go, or don't put your husband on child support, and trust me that I'm gonna make sure that you get the money that you need for your son. Like God would tell me to do something like that because I had my mind made. This dude is not in this house. I'm getting child support. Like he's gonna help me take care of this child, right? And I remember God telling me, no, he's not. He's not. If you ask him to do that, he's not coming back home. I'm going to make sure that he pays you. I'm going to make sure that he gives you the money that he needs. But if you go put him on child support, that man is not coming back home. So there are certain things that God will ask wives to do, right? He would ask you to do certain things on this journey that you're not going to want to do. God's way requires intense training. And that's why a lot of times a coach is needed, right? This is why a coach is needed. I always say that making sure that you find that right person, the right source, or right, whoever's supposed to be helping you on the journey, make sure that you are in a line with that right person, that right source, because there are just certain things that only a person who have experiences, walk through this, can teach you and share with you about this. There's only certain things that a person who actually walked this journey can share with you. And this is why I tell us all the time, there will come a time when you will eventually have to make a decision to get a coach. because other things would dry up, other things would run out, other things would come to its end. There are seasons when these things work. There are seasons that, like I said, groups work. There are seasons when, going to the pastor work, or, there are seasons for that. But then there are some times where it's like, no, I need something more, right? So transparent moment. In the past, and even now, I still have her. I have had a mentor, prayer warrior, and she really, really has, persevered with me on my journey. Like, she was my go-to. She was my go-to, right? She wasn't my coach per se. She wasn't my coach, but she did things like a coach would do, right? And so she had been the one that God sent on my journey, on my path, to help me. Like, it wasn't that I needed so much coaching. I knew how to coach myself. Like, I've always been self-motivated, and my daddy was a coach. So I think that's why it wasn't necessarily a coach, but I call her my coach because she still did things like a coach. But she was my prayer warrior. She was my mentor. And God used her to pray for me, right? God used her to pray for me. She didn't give me strategy. She didn't give me a curriculum. She didn't give me, like things I do for my wife, for my wife clients. Like, she didn't do those things, but she was very, very specific in praying. And one of her assignments was, I would pray and ask God, if this is not somebody who's supposed to be praying for me, or somebody supposed to be being with me, remove her off my path. I said, but if it is, tell her the same things that you tell me. That's how I would know that she is, supposed to be the person in my life and helping me with this journey. If you confirm to her the same things that you have confirmed to me, this is how I would know she's supposed to be my journey. And when I tell you this lady didn't miss. Like, she did not miss, because even in that time when I was going through my hardship, like I said, I was part of a church. I was in the church, working in the church. And I seen a lot of false teachers. I seen how these, some of these false prophets will, sell themselves by, picking on, soul searching, people, going for the weakest link, using people's vulnerability to manipulate and control them. I wasn't going for the okie doke, okay? Coach, she wasn't going for it. So my word to God was like, if you want this person to be in my life, if you want this person to help me, this is who it's supposed to be, and I'm feeling like this is what you are telling me, then you have to confirm with her all the time, God. Confirm with her the stuff that you were telling me. She has to be able to come back and tell me those same things, right? And she did. The lady didn't miss. The lady didn't miss. In recent times, God has placed another young lady on my path who has been a blessing to me in this season of my life, right? Like I said, I still have my mentor. I still communicate with her and talk with her. And it's not as much as before, but it's like when certain things come up, or, certain challenging things come up, if it's something that God done told me, sometimes she'll send a word, she'll come and confirm to me, what God has said. But this new person that has been on my path, she's been a blessing to me as well. She prays for me. This lady prays for me. And I feel like her assignment is not just to pray for me, like general prayer, but her assignment specifically is to pray for me as a just a leader, a wife coach, being out here, sharing the news with other wives. So because I share this information with so many other wives, of course my marriage is going to have its hiccups. Of course, different things are going to come up in my own marriage. And so it's almost like God has placed her in my life to cover me in that place. So she's like a real covering for me, and a covering for my marriage, right? And so she has been a blessing. She has been a blessing for me in this season of my life. Why do I share this, right? Like, what Coach C, what's your point? Why are you sharing this? There is a missing piece, wives, that you have to be aware of on this journey. There is a missing piece that you have to be aware of. And on this journey, you will need an intercessor. You will need a person that may or may not be your coach, okay? But you would need an intercessor on this journey, okay? This is something that God had highlighted and brought back to my attention. It is not necessarily the coach's sole responsibility to pray for you. I tell my wife clients all the time, this is not church. I'm not here to pray for you. Do I lift you up in prayer? Yes. There's a difference with lifting someone up in prayer and praying for them, right? There's a different way. Okay, yeah, I remember you in my prayers. I will lift you up. I will lift you up in prayer. Versus somebody praying for you, versus somebody interceding for you, versus somebody going to intercession for you. There's a difference, right? And that is not necessarily a coach's responsibility when you sign up to be with a coach. It's not the coach's sole responsibility to pray for you. Really, their job is to teach, guide, show you the ropes, give you the insight, perspective, push you, help you through this journey. A lot of times, like I hear people say, well, I'm getting encouragement from this person encouragement. Yeah, we encourage you and we gonna push you and do that type of thing, whatever. But really, my job really is to help you to navigate through this, to help you get through this in the most healthiest way. And so that is the sole responsibility really of a coach. Now, like I said, a coach can lift you up in prayer, but it's not the same thing as a person interceding for you in prayer. You need someone to be praying. Do you have that person? Do you have that person? Right? Your intercessor prays for you. They have been tap into what God is calling you to do on this journey, right? They have a specific assignment in your life, and they obedience to God is to keep you lifted and cover up and cover in prayer, right? They may be in relationship with you. They may know what's going on with you, or they may not. Okay, they are there specifically only to pray for you. All right, they're there to pray for you. Sometimes it can be a pastor or a dedicated church member that you may be going to church with. And the thing about this is, you don't want everybody praying for you, right? You do not want everybody praying for you. You can't say, oh, keep me up in prayer. Oh, you lift me up in prayer. Wives got to be careful with stuff like that, especially when it comes down to this type of assignment. I cannot emphasize this enough. You don't want to just be having every Joe, Mary, Sue, and Bob praying for you, right? A lot of times they have prayer ministers, at the church when, people go down and they have people pray for them. You need to discern that, right? You need to discern that. You need to ask God who you want me to go to. Who are you leading me to? Who is it that you want me to, have pray for me? There's a certain person in my church where if I don't see her, I don't go down there, right? If I don't see her, I don't go down there because I know specifically God has told me to go to this specific person. And these simple things that people think well, if they are Christian, if they are this, I thought it's okay. No, everybody should not be praying for you, right? You have to use discernment and really, really ask God to lead you. So this person can be a pastor, can be a dedicated church member. It can be a friend, a mother, a sister, a cousin, somebody who's Christian based and not biased, right? They're Christian based and they're not biased, or they're not one-sided, where it's not they just in agreement with everything you're saying, right? A person who's praying for you don't necessarily need to know what you got going on. They have been instructed by God to specifically keep you covered and keep you lifted. That's it. They don't need to know the details. All they need to do is just pray, right? All they need to know is to do is pray. And so this can be a relative. This can be a close friend. This can be somebody that you trusted that's Christian based. But they should not be biased. They should not be one sided. And you shouldn't be sharing all the details with them. Right? They should be able to tap into prayer and connect with God based off of the little bit that you tell them, can you lift me up and lift this up, whatever. They should be able to tap in and be able to pray for you, whatever it is that need to be prayed for, right? And you should feel the difference. You should know, oh yeah, I know that prayer move. Oh yeah, I know. If someone's praying for you, I'm telling you the truth. If someone's praying for you and you ain't feeling no shift and you ain't seeing nothing change and you ain't, it's God, are you sure? You might want to make sure. prayer warriors, prayer intercessors, you're gonna feel a shift. You're gonna feel a change. You're gonna know, no, they done tapped into heaven. No, they done reached heaven on my behalf, right? That's how you know a true, real prayer intercessor or a prayer person. You should feel a change. You should feel a shift. You should know something has moved, right? And then the last thing, a mentor. A mentor. This person can also be a mentor or any other outside source, like I said, who God has connected you with. Again, outside source, you got to be careful with that. You got to make sure that you are being spiritually led to do that. And you have to also be careful about information that you're sharing with these types of people. All right. These persons do not need all the details. They do not need they don't need your whole story. Oh my God, my husband left me. He with other women. He's doing this. They don't need all these details. They don't need that. You want to give them the simplified version. Hey, can you just lift me and my children up? We're going through a hard season. I'm going through a challenging season in my marriage. Can you just keep me covered? Once you say that, they may say, well, what's your husband's name? That type of thing. Once you tap into that, they should tap into something on heaven's behalf for you, right? Heaven should relate something to them for you where they're able to pray for you. And then something happens, like a magnet takes place where now this person is drawn to you and they're praying for you specifically for these things, right? If you do not have this type of person on your journey, if you do not have this type of person with you, you need type of person. Now you ask the question, well, wouldn't that be enough? That is not enough. That is not enough. And this is why I always tell wives, there is different sizes, there's different parts to this journey. You need more than just the one-sided. That's why going to church is not enough. That's why just fasting is not enough. That's why just reading your Bible is not enough. That's why just going to groups is not enough. It may be enough for a season, but it's not necessarily enough to continue on like, okay, I'm going to just go forward with this. No. When the Bible talks about we go from glory to glory, 2 Corinthians, at 3:18, we go from glory to glory. When the Bible talks about that, you as you are changing, as you're going from different seasons, as you're going from place to place, you will start to see God move people, out and bring people in, right? He will put certain people on your path to help you, and he will move certain people off your path. That used to can work. I can't do that no more. I used to can listen to that. I can't listen to that no more. I used to be able to receive from this. That's not working for me no more. And you need to be in a healthy place where where you are moving with the seasons. Wives get stuck on this journey because they are staying in the same place and they're using old strategies. They're using old things from the past, and that stuff is not working no more. Right? It's not working. You're trying to figure out why nothing is changing, why nothing is happening. That was working before. I used to be able to do this, and I can't do this anymore. No, because you are changing with the season, right? When I always tell wives, we're going into a new season, or the season is changing, or there's a shifting taking place. You have to be discerning enough to know, okay, something is happening, something is changing, and I need to catch up onto it because I don't want to be stuck in using the same things and doing the same things over and over again. Okay? So, they don't need all the details. These persons do not need all the details of your story. They only are there to pray for you. They're there to pray for your strength, to join in with you in faith. That's it. Okay? That's it. This is part of you being persistent in faith, wife. Wives on this journey, a lot of times, don't want to work. They're lazy. Okay? And I know that's probably like, very harsh to say it that way, but that's just what the bottom line is. They don't want to do the necessary work that's required for this to work, right? I share advice all the time that there are a lot of moving parts on this journey in order for you to be successful. And I was talking to my client before I did this live, and one of the things that she emphasized, was like, if you work it, it works. If you work it, it works. And I'm saying to myself, if people could just get that part. This journey works if you work it. It works. You will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living if you do your part, if you keep showing up, if you stay the course, if you do what it is that you need to do, if you are staying in relationship with God and allowing him to minister to you and utilizing the people that he's placing on your path. So many wives I talked to, I'm watching this video, I'm watching this video. It's like, who told you to watch that? Did somebody share that video with you? Are you working with somebody? Did God tell you to watch that video? Who told you to watch that? Because you shouldn't be watching every single video about marital restoration. So many wives are coming up with a confusion spirit, and it's throwing them off, it's pushing them backwards, and it's like, this is not working for you. Like, that does not work. Videos are only there as a means to, should I be working with this person? Is this somebody that God is using to help me in this time? Or how long should I be on this place, in this place with this person, right? So it's not long-term type of thing. Okay. This journey works. Point blank period. I wanted to say that. It works. If you're doing your part, it works. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, it work. God is turning hearts in this season. Why? Husbands are coming to their senses. I want to highlight that part right quick. Husbands are coming to their senses. And the reason why hearts are being changed and husbands are coming to their senses, because there is something happening in this season. Something is taking place. A shift is happening, right? God is going to do his part. He's going to do his part. You, wife, will not break on this journey. You have to tell yourself that. you have to look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, you're not gonna break me. You're not gonna break me. I am going to get through this. I am going to win. I am going to persevere. I am going to get through this, right? You will not break, you will not bend, and you will not bow down to the enemy. You will be persistent in your faith. And this is what this journey is about. Faith. I think I shared with y'all on a couple of weeks ago, a couple of videos ago, that maybe 90% of this journey is about faith. And as long as you are working your faith, you're going to see the results. When people take my curriculum, her bonus, that's why I don't promise anything. I don't have to promise anything, because faith does the work for you. It does the work. All you got to do is show up. All you got to do is persevere. All you got to do is be persistent. All you got to do is just do the work. Faith is going to give you the results that you're looking for on this journey. If God chose you, if God already told you what it's going to be, if God gave you a promise, if God already said your husband this, your husband that, your marriage is your marriage, if God already said those things, then all you got to do is just show up. All you got to do is just stay the course, right? God is faithful, okay? He is faithful. There is work involved. And a lot of times, wives are not seeing those results or getting what they want on this journey because they're not willing to do the work. They're not willing to do the work. But work is involved on this journey, right? I'm an advocate for marriage. Coach, she's an advocate for marriage. I am that rope that God uses to keep marriages, right? I'm that person. A lot of times when people, and this is something that I think, like I said, at work, they've been talking to me and sharing things like, oh my God, you do got, a certain gift that God is using to help people. But really, God had told me a long time ago, before I start this journey, that, I'm going to use you as a rope to keep marriages together. I'm going to use you. So a lot of times when people reach out to me, they're not reaching, and God told me this recently before I was coaching a young lady. He said, she's not reaching out to you because she just, is unclear about her journey, or she's unclear about what she's supposed to do. She's reaching out to you because she know that you are a person who is going to stand up for marriages. She's reaching out to you because she know that you are going to help push her to stand in the gap for her husband, even while they're going through their differences. And so I'm an advocate for that. I'm an advocate for marriages. I believe what God says about the marriage covenant. And like I was telling the young lady just now before coming on, if wives would just study the marriage covenant. Come on, Jesus. The first institution that God created. God honors the marital institute. He created it. The first miracle that Jesus did was the miracle at a wedding, right? Marriages are important to God. Your marriage matters to God. What happens in your marriage and with your husband, it matters to God. And so I always tell wives, just study what the marriage covenant means. That part will be such a relief to you on this journey. And then do the other part. But the marriage part, that's already a sealed deal. Your marriage works and will happen like it's supposed to happen while you are doing the work. But so many wives have the wrong motives, they have the wrong attitude, they have the wrong heart posture when they're doing this. And it's like your reasoning for doing what you're doing, it does not line up with the will of God. It is not lining up. And you have to ask God to purify you. You have to ask God to clean you out. You have to ask God to take that stuff out your heart. You have to ask God to get rid of some of that ugliness and that bitterness and all those wrong things and those evil motives. You have to ask God to search your heart. Come on, David. You have to ask God to search your heart. You have to ask God to put a new heart in you. Come on, Ezekiel. Put that new heart in you and give you a heart of flesh. You have to do work on your heart. And so many wives are in places and positions where they're not willing to do the work in their heart. And this is why when I coach wives, it's not about me coaching wives and saying, oh, we're going to focus only on your husband. This is why I focus on the wife. How are you doing? What you looking like? How you feeling mentally? How you feeling emotionally? How you been taking care of yourself? This is why that's my area of coaching, because it's like you got to focus on yourself more in order for you to even be successful on this journey, right? Wives got to make sure that they're taking care of themselves on this journey. Hollering, kicking, and screaming. I've done all of it. Guilty. Okay, and I make that noise because I am a wife still too. And so it doesn't mean that everything is, people sometimes think when you come on these platforms and you come up here like everything is just so glorious in my marriage, praise Jesus, blah, 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 blah. Okay. I be want to punch Mr. C a lot of days, right? I be want to go off on Mr. C a lot of days. A lot of stuff I'm still learning and journeying through and trying to navigate through. And he gets on my nerves still a lot of times. But then there are certain times and days where I'm so thankful that we did not give up on each other. I'm so thankful that God has carried us through. I'm so thankful that God loved us enough to continue to, give us chances. I'm so thankful for those moments, right? So hollering, kicking, and screaming, I have done it all. But by doing so, I've also seen the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, which comes from Psalms 27:13. And that is my Bible verse, and that is what my curriculum is built off of. I've seen God do impossible things, right? I've seen God do impossible things. My question to you is, will you will you be in place and position to see God do those impossible things in your marriage? Will you stand or stay with this long enough for you to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living? This journey does not work without faith. Wives have to be persistent in this. There is a foundation that has to be established. This is the beginning steps of the work that is needed, right? It is the intense steps that has to take place because it is required. A sacrifice is required on your part. Investing in yourself on this level requires faith. And this is a lot of times where wives kind of like, turn it off. I'm switching the channel. I'm going to a new station. This is where everything switches and change, right? Because they're not willing to invest. But I tell us all the time, it takes faith to do that as well. It takes faith to say, I'm going to step out on faith and see what happens and what comes out of this, right? There is still investing in yourself. Investing in yourself will be part of this journey, wife. In order for you to persist in faith, in order for you to continue to do this journey well, there will require some things from you. God is all about growing you up, improving you, strengthening you, and making you look more like his son, Jesus Christ. Her Bonus Boost group coaching is still available for you to sign up for. The group coaching starts January the 2nd, right? January the 2nd. I have offered this for a discounted rate in the group setting for wives to take the curriculum. And the reason why I'm highlighting it is because I want wives to get the foundational part of this journey. Once you get the foundational part of the journey, then this is when the checking in part comes in and you can kind of like rock out in that area. You can kind of like, show up in those areas. But sometimes those first initial steps, the foundation, the base, the starting point is needed, right? I have prayed and asked God, are you sure I'm supposed to be doing this? Because the price that I'm offering for, which is only $1,500 for 3 months, is not a price that I charge for clients that I work with on a one-on-one basis. But because this is a group setting, God has chopped it down and allowed me to charge $1,500. I shared with y'all, I think on last week, that $1,500, that's what I was charging when I first started coaching. That was 5+ years ago, right? So this price is not a price that I will normally offer. It's not a price. Now, a lot of people have been asking, well, when is it due, Coach T? When you have to pay by? I said by Christmas. Gift yourself with this by Christmas. However, I am extending it. I am extending it until that weekend, until the 28th, which is that Saturday. I am extending it to the weekend if you are still interested in signing up. Wives don't do good on this journey for 2 reasons. And y'all not gonna like these reasons. Because they're lazy and because they're unwilling to invest. Because they're lazy and because they're unwilling to invest. And you might say, well, I'm not neither of those things. I would love to invest. I would love to do. I want to do the work. I just don't have the funds. If God is putting in your spirit to do this, then he is going to make provision for you. Step out on faith. If God is putting in your spirit for you to do this, then he's going to give you the provision to do this. Step out on faith. I want to encourage you, right? I want to encourage you to sign up. You can still sign up for her Bonus Booth group coaching. January 2nd starts. www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. If you were saying, Coach C, I know I need to check in. I haven't checked in a while. Check in. Secure your session and check in, because things are changing. Things are happening. We are moving we're going from glory to glory to glory. Things don't stay still because you're still trying to make up your mind. We're not on standstill because you're trying to figure it out. God is on the go. He's moving. He's shifting, and marriages are being restored. Marriages are coming back together. People are coming back together. This person, like I said, my client I had before coming on with y'all, the glory was coming through the Zoom call. It was like, girl, what is going on with you? You can see the glow on her. But she has done her work. She has been persistent. She has continued to show up. She has seen the goodness of the Lord in the land of land of the living. Her and her husband are now experiencing some of those things that she prayed about way back then. When are you going to take that next step? When are you going to take that first step? When are you going to take the necessary steps that you need to take to start doing your work? Because once you start doing your work, the marriage part is already done. God is not sitting up here saying, oh, I'm worried about what's going to happen in your marriage. No, God not concerned about that, because he already knows what's going to happen with your marriage. God is saying, I'm worried about what's going to happen to you. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I don't need you to not be in a good place. I don't need you to not be healthy. And that man comes back home and he has a fragile heart, and you take his heart and you rip it into pieces, and you do something to him that's going to cause him to go backwards. I need to make sure that you are in a good place. I'm not worried about your husband right now. I'm not worried about the marriage. I'm worried about you getting in a healthy place so you will know how to handle this broken man when he comes back home. You will know how to deal with this broken man when he's in your face. You will know how to handle his remarks and some of the things, his behaviors. You will know how to handle these things. You will know how to have self-control over yourself and realize it's not about you taking control over the situation or you trying to rule him or control him. No, this is about managing yourself. This is about stewarding yourself. This is about taking care of you. This journey is not about your marriage. Your marriage injury got you here, but this is not about your marriage. This is about you. Coaches are not coaching you about, or they shouldn't. It's not about your marriage. Do we give you insight? Do we give you perspective? Do we give you wisdom? Do we do that? Absolutely. Do we give you our experiences? Absolutely. Do we help you with the I call them the blind spots? Absolutely. But ultimately, you're signing up for a coach to learn how to take care of yourself and how to interact with a broken spouse, and how to interact with broken people, and how to interact with unbelievers. This is what this journey is about. This is about helping you to be a better you. And in the midst of it, and while you're doing so, God is like, okay, now she's ready to handle her husband's bad behavior. Now she can answer a call. Now she can be in his presence. Because so many wives are convinced and confused and think, oh, well, God is going to fix my husband while he's out there and just bring him back to me. You think that this is Adam and Eve. You think this is Adam and Eve? God done put put Adam to sleep, done took Eve and brought Eve and fixed her all and packaged her all back up and brought her to Adam. No, baby, that's not how this go. Okay, God is preparing you because sometimes that husband, when he comes home, he might not be ready, and you have to be ready in order to deal with some of the stuff that God is still working out in him. Sign up and start doing your work today. www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. Listen. If y'all want a cup, you see that? Love yourself. Love yourself. Y'all see that? Let me know. Let me know. And I can get y'all a cup shipped out to y'all. Y'all enjoy y'all Christmas holiday with your friends and family. Remember, if your husband is not there, make sure that you are taking up for him, protecting him, covering him. Don't be sitting amongst your family members and people and talking about, oh, he ain't doing this and he ain't doing that. And he... Don't do that, all right? Make sure that you are being a good steward over your marriage covenant still in the midst of. Make sure that you are still being a faithful wife and you're doing him good all the days of his life, even if he act like a butthole, right? Make sure you're doing those things, but I want y'all to enjoy your Christmas. Sign up, sign up, sign up. If you're not on my email list, get on my email list so you can stay in the loop of what we got going on with different types of, discounts when we do have discounts and what what Coach C got going on. I got some news to share with y'all on next week. So if you're not on my list, I want you to get on my email list. But if you are that one who's saying, Coach C, I'm ready to sign up for her Bonus Boost, PayPal has payment arrangements. I offer payment arrangements, and it can happen. There's no excuse. Do your work. Get the necessary steps that you need to complete this journey in the most healthiest way. All right. Merry Christmas. I love y'all. Blessings. I'll talk to you soon. All right.